So this episode features a giant cock.
Out of all the episodes to miss, it's the one with the giant cock. I misunderstood a message Sab said, telling me he was gonna miss the episode on, was it the 17th?
You said all of that, and I didn't even say hello random person, Sab Nino here, welcome to Pat Takes.
Sorry about that, we could,
We're gonna keep this for just subversion of expectations. Yeah, this episode was a wild goose chase. Because I was telling Scuff that I won't be here to watch an upcoming Sponge Takes on the 17th due to a doctor's appointment, but they thought I was referring to this week's episode, so we had to buy a free trial on Nick.com to access this episode because it wasn't on Amazon when Amazon's typically a reliable source. Anyway, the episode. Season 1, episode 16B, House Hunting. When their beloved coffee pot house runs away from its humbled abode, the Star family track it down with their TV vehicle.
This episode was crazy, and I knew the premise of this one going in, because Sab told me what he just said. It's about them chasing the house that just grew chicken legs. So I kind of had my expectations set in place.
They're chasing a giant cock. Their house turns into a giant chicken.
The episode starts out with this 30s, 40s inspired segment with this king pig and all of these meat creatures that are getting decimated by Patrick. Very interesting. It's revealed to be puppets after 2 minutes of us seeing their little world, and
then they turn out to be real at the end?
Not too big of a fan of how they turned out to be real.
Is it like a Jack and Crazy Fish situation? They're like imagined and then they turn out to be real? That's my best guess, but this episode has nothing to do with that episode. If I had to describe the story in one word, it would be weird. I think this is probably the weirdest premise so far. I think it's the premise that left me with more questions than answers. Why did they choose to make the house a chicken? Why does it migrate every year with a toaster oven?
Although the premise is out of nowhere, I like how it leans into the realism. It knows what it is. It's just being a wacky cartoon, just for fun.
True.
There's a small detail when they were chasing downtown where they hit the 30s character's car, and we thought it was weird. It was just like a normal black car, not a boat. I guess that makes sense, but it still doesn't make sense for them to be real. We're already dealing with like the house turning into a chicken out of nowhere, and you make the completely unrelated characters real too. That's just a little bit much, I guess. It's like, let's just have one of those.
One thing I definitely noticed about the story is there's some aspects that I felt were pretty oddly placed. For example, the 1930s bit at the beginning. You know, it was cool, but I did feel like it went on a little bit too long.
Yeah, for sure. It went on for 2 minutes. I felt like they had to fill up time, like their main story wasn't long enough.
It felt like filler. It was well-animated filler, but also when the giant chicken house was going back into the hole, there was like an odd pause when it opened its window, and there was like a security guard there just admiring it, I guess.
I thought the pacing of that was really funny. It was weird, but I thought it was funny.
I honestly didn't get it.
It has a baby with the toaster, and then Grandpat lives in that baby forever.
We never see Grandpat again. Spoiler alert, we never see Grandpat anywhere else in the series. I know, despite none of the episodes premiering yet, we totally know this as fact. Grandpat is dead.
Really sad because it was his own doing, really, but, you know, old people die. It's just something that happens in life. They lead the house home with coffee beans, because, you know, it's like a coffee pot.
I thought that was really creative. Also, the chicken house was voiced by Tom Kenny, and all I could think of is that mocking SpongeBob meme. Okay, animation and comedy. Transition. I don't have much to say on the animation other than that the 1930s segment, super authentic. I like it. They did a really good job of capturing that 1930s feel.
The 4:3 aspect ratio was a nice touch too.
There's even like subtle things like the little audio delay in the title card.
Oh, good catch. Yeah, the title cards are really cool and unique too.
I'm not surprising that they'd be able to pull off that sequence really well, given that I believe a lot of the people working on SpongeBob also worked on the Cuphead show, and that's very inspired by the 1930s.
Oh yeah, Adam Pullian directs half the episodes. This episode reminded me of one of my favorite things in animation, and that's when animation feels confident. The voice acting and the expressions and timing, it just all comes together. It just looks amazing, and it just has like that confident feeling.
It's unapologetically a cartoon.
It really owns what it is, even if it's completely ridiculous and everything, it's really owning it. There were some extra smooth, ambitious shots while chasing the house through the town, some moving camera shots, really cool angles. But I was laughing at a lot too. The hot dog man going from happy to distraught because he's gonna be sacrificed.
I love his little face.
Grandpat bouncing around, barely reacting, as well as when he spits out his toothpaste onto a random person outside without realizing because he doesn't even realize the house is moving.
Yeah, Grandpat's subplot was mildly amusing to me. I didn't think it was the funniest part of the episode, but it's Grandpat. I like Grandpat.
There's a part where Squidina had a buff leg to press on the gas.
First off, why isn't the television car Nickelodeon Kart Racers, since Squidina is in that game? Second, speaking of Squidina's beefy legs, there was a scene with a bunch of marathoners and Perch Perkins. All the people in the bike marathon had beefy legs for some reason.
I mean, if you're riding bikes all the time, your legs would get beefy.
It's just interesting how all of them had beefy legs.
Yeah, they're like all identical.
I wonder if they have their own tentacle eggers.
What do their families look like? Are they identical too? How did they grow up? What are their names?
Important questions in the SpongeBob universe. Fred was there. He was just there. At this point, I'm kind of getting sick of my leg jokes. I think they are finally taking their toll. But I do like how they switched it to my eggs.
I love how seriously you're saying that.
I'm a critic. I judge things. Plus it's 12 in the morning.
And then there's a split second where Patrick made the eye-popping out Ed Roth-inspired face, which led us to a whole tangent of talking about Ed Roth, which we'll talk about in a sec.
Actually, let's do it early. New segment, Tangent of the Week. Ed Roth references to SpongeBob. Does Midnight Snack Attack count? I don't fucking know.
So yeah, it's actually appeared in 3 different mediums.
The way Bikini Bottom was drawn was interesting. When they were luring the house with coffee beans, they had an interesting shot of Bikini Bottom. It was like vintage and trippier.
And in the trivia, it mentions that it brings back some aspects like this big red flower, stuff from the earlier seasons.
Speaking of the trivia, is it about time?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna get this out of the way. Just like with last week's episode, this was postponed by Monster High, Secret Life of Pets, and Uncredible Journey. Take a shot every time we mention Monster High.
I'm dead. I took too many shots. I like the name of the episode, House Hunting.
House Hunting is very similar to the original episode on Real Estate House Hunters.
The car horn beeped like Roadrunner from Looney Tunes, so that's cute.
Ukulele Bottom showed up in the background. They also misspelled ukulele. The porpoise from the second episode shows up.
But yeah, I think that's about it, huh?
Overall, this episode was an experience.
I kind of went in with low expectations, and I came out liking it more than I expected. I had a good time. Animation's great, and I laughed a lot, and that's what I come to the Patrick Show for. It's kind of all I expect.
What do you think of House Hunting? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Are you mixed on it?
Xbox Live!
Comment below! And join us next week where we actually switch back to Sponge Takes, where we talk about the episode Mom Pa's Big Hurrah. And with all that said, it's all set from here.
See you guys!